congratulations on this film. I ended up watching it with a group of friends on Halloween night, and we absolutely loved it, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That is exactly what we made it for. Groups of people crowding around to watch it together.
Awesome. Well, mate, tell us a little bit about how the film started, because not only do you feature in the film, but you're also a producer. So how did the film start out for this journey for all of you?
Yeah, so my understanding, what he's told me is that writer-director Justin Miller spent like a couple years just being interested in things like night terrors and reading about insomnia and the real ways that sleep can affect the human body. And that was before he had any inkling of writing a movie. He's just a curious dude and likes to read a lot. And then he wrote this script, and I was lucky enough, around that same time, I was in a play in the Philadelphia Fringe Festival.
Yep.
And our casting director, Samantha Russell, who also plays the character Addie, was in attendance and saw me. She and I knew each other for a couple years, but this was the first time that she saw me outside of like being a goofball doing sketch comedy. So she saw me in this play and was like, oh, she told Justin that like maybe I had the chops to bring the character Edgar to life. So that's how I came involved. And then we shot it all in Yardley, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour outside of Philadelphia. And we did it all in Justin's house, and in any other house that you see is like a neighbor's who was kind enough to let us involve. So it was a real community effort. The whole town of Yardley, Pennsylvania kind of chipped in and was really kind. And yeah, and then Justin edited it and wasn't sure what to do with it next. So that's when I was able to like put on a producer cap and do some research, find out how to get a movie distributed. And here we are. It came out today.
Awesome. So what was your first thoughts when you first read the script? Like, it's such a unique idea, and that's something that you don't get to say very often in the horror genre, that this is unique, but this is very unique. What was your first thoughts when you read the idea of the film and also the script?
I'll tell you what, Dave, even before reading it, I was on board. Like, somebody asked me to be in a horror movie, and I said, yes, sight unseen. And then I saw, in that first email with the script, before I downloaded the PDF, I saw the cast list, and I was like familiar with more than half of the folks, knew that they were all super talented, and I'd love to be, working with them. And then I read the script, and I was like taken aback by how it was a movie with real ideas. This wasn't a cookie cutter cash-in kind of movie where we're just doing another Friday the 13th with some different mask on the bad guy. This was a kind of a thoughtful and thought-provoking story. So I was really, really grateful to be involved with something that felt new to me, because even prior to being involved in this, huge horror movie fan. So it didn't remind me. It reminded me of a few movies that I liked, but it wasn't a copy. It wasn't like a Xerox copy of anything. Yeah. And I was really, really appreciative of that.
You mentioned that you recognized some of the names of the cast when you first heard about it. I believe a lot of those cast and crew members were actually Philadelphia-based comedians and performers. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of us are, or in my case was. I've since moved to Chicago. But yeah, I spent a lot of time grinding it out doing comedy in Philly. That's where I met Samantha, who plays Addie, and I met Zach in the movie. Daryl Charles is a stand-up who plays the news anchor in our movie, and then the person I was most looking forward to getting to know better, this fella named the legendary Wid. He plays my character's Uncle Pat, and he is like, to me, the most famous guy. Like he's a prop comic from Philly, and he had a real run back in the day, like the 80s, 90s. He had like stuff on HBO. He had a bunch of late night appearances. So he was like one of the forefathers of Philadelphia comedy, and somebody who every time I had the chance to see him on stage made me laugh harder than I could remember laughing. So I was really, really excited to work with the legendary Wid. And then he was just the coolest guy to be around on set because he had all these great stories of like playing cards with Allen Ginsberg and stuff. Like he was just a cool guy to spend your time with. So I was, even before getting on set, I was like really, really excited to be there.
With having such a tight-knit group of people working on the film, did that kind of bring a camaraderie to the shoot that you wouldn't normally get on most films?
Absolutely, I can say that it did. Nobody was there clocking in and clocking out for a check. There wasn't enough money in the budget for that to really be the case for anybody. Nobody could have been motivated by money if they wanted to. This was a real passion project for everybody involved, and hopefully that kind of comes across on screen. You can tell that these are people, in the early, I think all of us were kind of similarly in like the early stages of our career looking to really, bust our butts, work hard on something that we could be proud of together.
Yeah, and you said that the whole community came together as well, and you do get that feeling when you're watching the film that this was put together by people that loved the project. What was that like working in the community where Justin lives as well? Did that help out with things like sets and things like that?
Man, it did. It was so cool. Anytime you see like a shot of different houses, people standing outside of different houses, it's the real Justin Miller's real neighbors, and they all couldn't have been more accommodating and exciting. People like just chipping in, buying us pizza, and it was really nice. And then there were a couple families that were like kind enough to go take a hike for a day so that we could have their house to shoot and pretend it was another character's living quarters. And so they were so nice that they let us kick us out of their homes.
Yeah. And does that help with your performance as well? Actually being in someone's home filming, that must make the performance a lot more natural than, say, using a back lot studio at Universal or somewhere like that.
Oh, totally it is, because I can't, pretend to have this actorly poise like I knew what I was doing the whole time. A lot of what I was doing in my first movie was kind of intuitive, trying to feel and just do my best. So there would have been a lot more insecurities on my end had we been in a phonier setting, but instead every set was like a lived in place, and everybody we worked with made me feel super comfortable and safe to try things out, have a few different choices and a few different takes. And you're right, being in somebody's home, it's easy to act like you're in a real home.
Yeah. Were you nervous about going into your first feature film role? I went from doing stage acting to hosting a live television show, and I remember the first night when that red light went on that camera, I almost froze. Were you nervous about going from the stage to doing a feature film?
I was totally nervous. I had like I said, a history doing sketch comedy, where no matter how bad you screw it up, after an hour it's all over. Whereas a movie, if I loused something up real bad, it was going to be on screen somewhere forever. So I was nervous about that. But then the more time I spent, the more I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much easier, because if I screw up, we can just do it again. Whereas like in a play or when I was doing stand up, I didn't have the chance to call cut and start over again, and I never had the chance to have a performance edited in post.
And as an actor,
so
go ahead.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say, with the acting, playing Edgar as well, was there certain things that you were able to go back to from your sketch comedy days to bring to that character as well?
Absolutely. There was a physicality that I was confident in being able to bring to the character. Lots of like pratfalls and that kind of thing. There's a moment where I like slip in a puddle of blood, and I really spent the whole night doing my best to like get up as high in the air as I could before I came crashing down on my ass. And we ended up only being able to use like the gentlest take, because every time I slammed into the floor, it would rattle the camera. So I was definitely experienced in like hurting myself for a laugh. So that was nice to be able to apply those skills. And I was definitely comfortable. Any line that Edgar had that was played for a laugh, I knew I could nail. It was just some of the more serious stuff. I was a little like insecure, so that's why I'm super grateful to have had the experience where Justin knew like the approach to take, or he never made me feel ashamed or made me feel like a take was bad. He would just be like, let's do different, let's try this instead of that, without making me feel like I had made a mistake or anything. So yeah, there was a lot that I brought to the table, but there was also a lot that I had to learn pretty quickly.
Well, you did an absolutely amazing job all throughout the film. You mentioned before about the film being thought-provoking. What do you hope the audience takes away from this film?
I would love for everybody to like take away from it. We kind of, when we were on set, we would always talk about how we were. I mean, geographically in the United States, we couldn't have gotten that much further away from Hollywood, and this just felt like for all of us, like we were standing in this little town in Pennsylvania, kind of shooting a flare up into the air to see how folks would respond to it, and we're hoping their takeaway is like understanding that this isn't a blockbuster multi-million-dollar movie, and allowing us the chance to like learn through it. But I'm hoping that folks can have a laugh and maybe crack a beer open, smoke whatever they might smoke, and have a good time watching it.
Awesome. Well, mate, like I said, I absolutely love the film, and it's the perfect film for people to watch out there with their friends. Are you nervous now the film's about to come out? How are you feeling today that the film is now out there?
Yeah, I can't feel too nervous, because I was definitely the one that championed it to this level of distribution. There was a while where it looked like the movie would only exist on Justin Miller's hard drive before I kind of got involved in ushering it to the next level. So I've had a lot of time to think about what it would feel like to have our work out there on this scale. And now I've just been kind of grateful. I've just spent the day feeling like super grateful, because I've had both friends and strangers reach out with some really, really kind words. And there have been a few reviews that were less than glowing, but you take that as they come. Those folks aren't out here making their own horror movies, so
yeah,
you can't value their opinion too much. Mostly, I'm happy to have something that I can point to and be like, oh yeah, I did that, so I'd be happy to bring whatever skills I might have to your project if somebody's foolish enough to involve me in another movie.
Well, Bill, we certainly hope that we do see you in more films to come. But to finish off the interview, what would you like to say to people out there who are about to sit down to watch the film for the first time?
I would like to say to them, thank you. Thanks for, there's, millions, I'm sure, different pieces of content that you could have chosen. And so for you to sit down and give us a shot, I'm really grateful to anybody that would choose to, parse through whatever streaming service they're using to check out a tiny little movie from way outside of the studio system. And I think people will go into watching it with that understanding, and hopefully my biggest wish is that somebody will watch this movie and go, I'd like to do that, and then that person makes a better movie, like a movie that I can watch, and enjoy.